We live in an age where the war game is dark and gritty. It's not as much fun as it could be. Now, let me take you back to the past, to 1989, a period when the war game wasn't abundant like it is now, a time when fun was supreme in gaming and the mass market didn't give a hoot about realism and achievements and all that crazy shit we've got today. Games back then were pure, unadulterated fun. This is the period where Guerrilla War originates from, and if it comes from the time of Mario and Mega Man, can it really go wrong? Let's take a look at this game in full before coming to a decision. Guerrilla War's graphics looks kind of dark. That's not necessarily a bad thing, I mean we are at war here, but when you compare it to the popular entities at the time such as Zelda and Mario, it just seems either drained of color in comparison or just much darker. If they went for the second option, then it paid off in spades. While we may be sick of dark and drab games now, this kind of style was new at the time and had only really been seen in Metal Gear before. The art style definitely sets the tone for the rest of the game. Even though it's in 8-bit and even though your character's fatigues are bright blue, Guerrilla War's graphics could actually make you feel as if you're actually at war. Of course, you'd have to suspend your disbelief a little, but it got closer to the war theme than any other game up to that point, well, except for Metal Gear. The game's music is very fast-paced and somehow arcade, which sort of ruins the whole war thing a little. I mean, don't get me wrong, Guerrilla War sounds good, damn good. It's very frenetic and NES style, but you always get the impression that to fit into the whole war thing that they're going for, it should have been a lot slower. Nevertheless, the music featured within is well worth listening to. Guerrilla War features sound effects that are they're good, but you get a resounding feeling while playing that it would feel more at home in a Mega Man game. The gun and explosion sound effects are good, yes, but the other ones feel kiddly and pedestrian in comparison. Guerrilla War is set on an unnamed island in what appears to be the Cuban Revolution. You play as a lone soldier who is sent to the island to kick some ass and to take control from the tyrannical dictator who is making everyone's life a misery. I personally love the fact that we have a war game that is not set in either the present or the world wars. And come on, who doesn't love the idea of being a one-man army? Now in the original Japanese version, this game was called Guevara, as in Che Guevara, the Cuban freedom fighter whose picture has become the very symbol of the political left, particularly with young people. And furthermore, in the Japanese version, the second player was Fidel Castro. Think about that for a second. Playing a game on the NES as Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. The game really doesn't have much of a story beyond that, but to be perfectly honest, it doesn't need a story. I believe Jim Johnston once wrote, "It's all about the game and how you play it," and this echoes true here. SNK may try and tell us that the story is important, even going as far as to include a prologue in the game, but it really makes no difference. It's all about the game, and now we're going to see if it's up to scratch. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Guerrilla War is all about the fun. It's you against the world as you tear through the stages, hurling out grenades of justice and bullets of pain. It's an incredibly fun experience that you can even share with a buddy. Yep, this game has cooperative multiplayer, way before LEGO Star Wars was the new block on the block. One thing I do find a little annoying is how easy it is to die. I wouldn't exactly call myself a beginner, but if you don't watch yourself, you will die. However, you do have infinite lives, and when you die, you respawn exactly where you died, kind of like Zero Wing, so yay! Even death can't stop Guerrilla War. Finally, the last thing I'll touch on is the controls. They work as they should, no better, no worse. There are absolutely no problems with them, and they won't steer you wrong. One thing I'll point out is, even though this is a shooter of sorts, you will not need a turbo controller, because the bullets fly at a perfect pace with a normal controller, and you'll only need to keep the button held down instead of hammering it like in other games. Overall, Guerrilla War is a very fast-paced game that could almost be described as Metal Gear's crazy younger brother. Think Metal Gear with the speed multiplied by 3, the enemies increased and the fun increased by an immeasurable amount. I seriously think you can describe this as a hidden gem of the 8-bit era. It's that good, and because of that, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It loses 1 point just for the mood being spoiled a little by the upbeat and swinging music in the war environment. Everything else, though, is very, very good.
Aprendimos a quererte desde la histórica altura, donde el sol de tu bravura le puso cerco a la muerte. Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante